Yeah, and it sounds like the direction with WWE right now is they're focusing more on athletes and not necessarily independent wrestlers. I was just at the WWE tryout camp in Vegas, and Triple H said 90% of the people that were at that camp had never been in a pro wrestling ring before at all. What do you think about the decision to focus less on independent talents and more on like legitimate athletes like yourself? I mean, it's worked out really well for him with guys like you and Brock Lesnar, obviously.
Yes, it did, but I would tread very lightly on that because there are a lot of incredible independent wrestlers. Wrestlers that never did any real sport, but they're very good at their craft. And I would like to see the percentage. You know, fortunately for me, I was a real athlete and, won a gold medal in the Olympics. But, these kids that are trained to be pro wrestlers and working at the independent shows, they're doing a lot of the work. And they're crafting their skills and their character. I don't know how much character development occurs down at NXT, but I think a lot of character development occurs in independent shows.
Yeah, what do you think of the transition that Riddle has made to the main roster right now? Another guy with a legitimate background like yourself, and he's just seemingly selling tons of merch and having the time of his life, it looks like, with Randy Orton right now.
Yeah, he's doing extremely well, but he came in with a character, the bro thing. I mean, it worked so well, and they put him in the right place. They teamed him up with Randy Orton. Randy's more of a miserable guy that doesn't get along with anybody, and here's this kid that kind of makes Randy like him, which Randy never likes anybody, his character anyway. But
yeah.
He rubbed off on him, and it's a great story. And those are the kind of things that Gable Stevenson is going to need to have along with his ability.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I got to ask you, obviously, there's another guy who dabbled a bit in MMA and is now back in the world of pro wrestling. That's obviously CM Punk. What's your reaction to the CM Punk to return to pro wrestling? Are you as on fire about it as seemingly everybody else in the professional wrestling world right now?
Well, I think it's great for wrestling. CM Punk was a huge name. He had an incredible impact on wrestling, on pro wrestling when he was in the WWE. So he made a great name for himself. And, if he wants to return, hey, best to him. Good luck.
Yeah. What do you think about the idea that a Daniel Bryan could possibly wind up in the AEW flock here a lot sooner than later as well?
I'm really surprised at that. I never thought that WWE would let him go.
Yeah.
Daniel was a big part of the company for the past 10 or so years. And he was literally the top babyface in the company for a few years. So I'm really surprised they let him go. But, Daniel's probably happier in AEW for whatever reason. I don't know if it was money or he wasn't happy with the direction of his character. But it had to be something that made him leave.
Yeah, creatively, it's a really interesting time for pro wrestling, Kurt. I don't know what you think about the idea that AEW is seemingly presenting this grittier product right now, and WWE seems to be kind of moving more in a family-friendly direction right now. They don't really seem to want to have the same tone or vibe as an AEW right now.
Well, I don't think they can because they're publicly traded. And
Yeah.
I think that the shareholders put a lot of pressure on the big man and tell him, keep everything PG rated, gear it more for younger kids. That's where the merchandise is.
Sure.
The WWE, their theory is if kids are watching it, the parents are watching it too. And the parents are going to pay for the merchandise for the kids, and they're going to pay to go see the events. So they do have the right theory on it, but you're losing the young adults and the 18 to 40-year-olds that they had during the Attitude Era. That's more the way AEW's direction is right now. I mean, they're swearing on the air, they're putting up their middle fingers. It's more of an Attitude Era edge.
Yeah, and they're having Chris Jericho get sliced up with pizza cutters. I don't think we'd ever see that in Vince McMahon's WWE anytime soon.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So, Kurt, you made a lot of news, or not news, but I guess created a lot of buzz here not long ago. You did that face-to-face photo with Miro. He's talked about how badly he wanted that match. Is that something you wish you'd have got to be able to do, have that bout with Miro?
Yes, I really did want that, and I know he did too. It's unfortunate it never happened. At the time that he wanted it to occur, WWE wasn't looking at me. They wanted to see if I could stay out of trouble for a couple more years. I got the DUIs and I had a problem with alcohol and painkillers. I got myself through that, and I had to clean up my act. And by the time I got there, I was probably a little bit too old to produce the way I used to.
Sure.
The reason why I retired early is I wasn't at the level I was in my prime, and I don't want to do it if I can't be at that level. And I noticed I lost a step, and it just for me, I wasn't happy with it, so I decided to retire.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and you say you've retired from in-ring action. You put out a thing like that with you and Miro face-to-face. Obviously, everybody's going to ask the question, well, is there one more match, right? You've outspokenly kind of not thought that the WrestleMania bout was, maybe the ideal way for you to have a retirement match. Have you talked to AEW about doing anything over there with them, even if it's not wrestling? Obviously, they have a lot of legends and managerial roles or elsewhere, something like that,
Yes, they offered me a couple of different contracts. I turned them down for personal reasons, but Tony Khan's been really nice to me, very generous, and I really appreciate his interest in me having me there. But at this particular time, I can't do it.
Did they want you to have a match, Kurt? Was that something Tony was like, hey, Kurt, you got one more in you? Did that ever come up?
The first offer, they wanted me to have many matches.
Wow. Whoa.
And,
okay.
The next offer, I think, was 3 matches. And then one was just an on-camera personality, no wrestling.
Man, yeah. You and Dan Lambert, man, I could see you guys having a lot of fun together. Dan Lambert is having the time of his life right now, cutting those old-school promos about how things used to be better in pro wrestling.
Yeah, they're actually pretty funny.
I thought you'd dig Dan.